Hey everyone, Joy Brooks with Email and Coffee. I have the distinction of talking with Brenda Denzler today, who says she's mostly retired and lives close to her grandchildren and children. But I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes here with Brenda. So, Brenda, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, let's see. Well, we could start at the beginning when I was born, but that's kind of far back. So we will go quite as
You're
far back as
comfortable.
yeah, that indeed. Um, I got my PhD from Duke University in religious studies. I wrote The Lure of the Edge, Scientific Passions, Religious Beliefs, and the Pursuit of UFOs. It was my dissertation, published by the University of California Press in 2001. I did not pursue an academic career, and with a dissertation like a UFO dissertation, it must be said that an academic career didn't necessarily pursue me either. So I had a few close calls, but we kind of mutually reached a decision that probably wouldn't be the best fit, and I think that was the right decision. I had a career as a writer and editor and retired a few years back. I got cancer in 2009, retired in 2014. I'm, by the way, cancer free as far as we know now. Yeah, knock on wood, exactly. Um, in 2024, I was invited to give a keynote address for the Society for UAP Studies. And that kind of plunged me back into the UFO world. I hadn't had a lot of time to devote my attention to keeping up with UFOdom. I never worried about that a lot because I figured that things moved slow enough in the UFO world that if I wanted to get back into it, I'd take a little bit of intensive reading, but I could catch up. And as it turns out, that was absolutely correct. I could and I did. But things aren't moving as slowly as they used to in the UFO world. And it's a really different field of study now that it's getting some attention from academics and scientists in the mainstream. Um, I don't know how much attention it's getting from the mainstream public. I recently had a couple of friends visiting from out of state, and one of them was asking me about my current reading and writing on the subject. The other one says, "Well, I'm interested in what you're doing, Brenda, but I really don't believe in UFOs." And I said, "Well, you do know, don't you, that the Department of Defense has admitted that there is something flying around in our skies, and we do not know what it is, but it has behavioral characteristics that vastly outpace our current best technology." And she said, "No, really?" So I don't know, for all the froth and foam in the UFO subculture right now, I don't know how much of that, I don't have a good sense of how far that extends into Joe and Jane Q citizens' lives.
People amaze me sometimes. So I've got a number of friends, and I'll talk about, what are you doing? And I'm doing this, and then I'll say, anybody want to talk about UFOs? And some people are like, they have like, no. And if
Uh-huh.
I were to say UAPs, they would be like, what is that?
Right.
And some people are like, oh, that's cool, let's do that.
Uh,
But I'd say that's not on everybody's radar. But there's a lot that's not on everybody's radar.
that's true. That's true. I
Some
offered,
people skirt a lot.
yeah, I offered to give a lecture to the high school age students at my grandkids' charter school. And I wrote at the end of last semester, I wrote to the head of their science department. I said, this is who I am. These are my credentials for talking about this subject. I would be really happy to come and give a talk to your students on UFOs and how to study them. And I said, here's why I think it would be a good idea. And here are a couple of articles by mainstream scientists recently about the UFO phenomenon. And, I would be happy to work with you over the summer to arrive at a presentation that you would feel comfortable with me giving. My objective would be to interest students in science, to interest them in pursuing a career in the sciences. And never heard back.
Never heard that.
Not a word. So
It's I mean, did I watch the congressional hearing? Yes. Did I get a lot out of it? No.
that's why
No.
I just look for the summaries, because I figure I can zone in on zoom in on the high spots if I have to.
I mean, I got some personality out of it. I got some ideas of what's going on. I like to read between the lines a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when I'm reading between the lines, it's still very discomforting. Very discomforting. And that's, I'm like, how much misinformation are we going to be fed? So to the point where we just, oh, it's all garbage anyway.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, it's already at that point. I can honestly say when somebody asks me anything about anything, oh, it's all garbage anyway. Because that's how much information we're fed.
Yeah. Well, I was reading up on some of the deeper background of how the extraterrestrial hypothesis got connected to the UFO phenomenon. How did that linkage get made? Because nowadays, to say one is to say the other. But it didn't start out that they were the same thing. One of the things I found out when I was looking at all that was that after the government had done two brief studies in 1947, 48, 49 of the UFO phenomenon, after the second study ended, the results of the study were forwarded to the Psychological Warfare Division of, I think it was the Army. I don't think the Air Force was in existence yet. I'm not sure. But basically, it was the information was forwarded to them to see if there would be any intelligence application for any of this information about UFOs that they had collected. And really, it wasn't so much about UFOs as it was about the people reporting the sightings. So, and judging from all the evidence from 1950 on, yes, the intelligence community has had a notable presence in the UFO subculture, and there is no particular reason to believe that it has ended now.
Now, prior to that, we have religion that is reporting and gatekeeping the same information.
Yep.
And doing the same propaganda spin on it.
A lot of faiths do seem to be doing that, and then again, what the official response of the leadership, that the high leadership of a denomination or a faith tradition would say, may not be the same thing that gets filtered down into the lower levels. And it's in some areas, at least of Christianity, it's really easy to say, oh, we know what this is. These are demons. We just need to leave those alone because they're demonic. And that's certainly one way to look at it. I don't think it's necessarily the best way. And I know there are other ways to look at the phenomenon, but you got to worry about the people who say it's demons because
Why
what
not?
what that could lead to um, could be really detrimental for living things.
Yeah. Especially if they exist.
Yeah.
And don't know what they are. And we're assigning them to that realm. That, what happens is when you start, these are my questions, the mystery questions that have no answers. This has been happening. The appearance of things, beings, entities, has been happening forever. The vocabulary around them continues to change.
Yeah.
Even, today. It's UFO. No, it's UAP. Okay, whatever you want to call it.
Arose by the
NHIs. Oh, now we're calling down, now they're not aliens, now they're NHIs. Right. Okay, all right, whatever, So the language keeps changing. The core myth is still there.
Mm-hmm.
The core myth is still there. Mm-hmm. So, we have gods abducting beautiful young women in the shape of bulls, whatever, abducting them, having children with them. We have that. And, move 2,000 years later, we have people saying I was abducted into a spaceship with little gray men who, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And then I had a miscarriage, so there's no proof.
Right.
And, it's easy to say, oh, it's all just so much garbage. But the core mythology, that seems to be part of the question for me. It's like, why do we keep asking the same questions? Doesn't there seem to be, I'm going to use the term, a there, if we keep asking the same question? The answer comes out in the culture, in the appropriate or the contemporary culture. The answer comes out there. Right. The question keeps going on around. Yeah. And I'm thinking, and now all the weirdness is getting lumped together. So you want to talk about poltergeist, you want to talk about werewolves, mm-hmm. You want to talk about ghosts, anything. It's all NHI. Now it's all together. It's consciousness. Yep. I think it always was.
Yeah. I think there's a very good chance that it's more or less the same category of phenomena, maybe 2 or 3 different categories, but those categories are related in some way. But the paranormal, the weird pieces of UFOs are not just that they can fly a whole lot faster than anything that we've got, and they can do 90-degree turns on a dime. I mean, that's the weird associated with them goes way beyond that. It goes into phenomena that are typically associated with hauntings and ghosts and paranormal events. People who have had close encounters, especially abductees, but others as well, will report having acquired psychic abilities. And I've experienced the psychic abilities I've been on the receiving end of somebody who was telling me what was to come in the future for me. And she said that she had gotten that ability because from the aliens who abducted her. So the weird is really a part of the UFO phenomenon. how we're going to integrate that, or if it should be integrated, or given a loose tie to parapsychology and psi abilities. Very, very big questions, and we don't yet, as a species, at least in the West, we are not ready to tackle the problems, tackle the questions with as much rigor as we might, I think.
Like the archaic culture had no problem lumping all these things together.
Right?
Okay, so they had anthropomorphic gods, and
Right.
we laugh at them now. Oh, weren't they silly, those people? So silly.
Uh-huh.
In the meantime, did just like today, when you talk to some people who know about UFOs and you talk to some people who don't, in those days, if you were to say, oh, God has the head of a bull, the tail of a whatever, some people would say, no, that's meant to be, just
Right.
that's a myth. But
Right.
this is what it means. They would say it then. And then there would
Uh-huh.
be some people who would say, no, that's exactly what God is. Exactly.
That's
Because
exactly
there
what
are
I
people,
saw. I'm
there are
just telling
literal
you what I
people.
saw.
There are literal people, and there are those people that think things through and overthink.
Yeah.
Which is me and you. But I think again, what's happened, and in my opinion, as the West became more secular,
Right.
we began to believe more and more in spiritual things, in UFOs, in meditating and doing all these other things. It's like it's the same thing, brother and sister. We're just calling it different words. So if you're saying you don't believe in God, but you meditate, okay, you believe in something, because what are you meditating for?
Right.
What is that? Where's that place you're going when you meditate? That's my definition of God, okay?
Yeah.
I think that is the definition of God. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, all right. I'm not going to argue. But, I think that what is filling our space now, well, the void is we don't believe in those things that the culture had brought forward. We don't.
Right.
And so now we're delivering a new vocabulary so that we can say, oh, no, I am not Roman Catholic. I am spiritual.
Right.
So it doesn't carry the connotation of whatever evils Roman Catholicism might, because that's bad. It's old. It's bad.
Right.
Let's not necessarily throw the baby out with the water.
Right.
I hate using these terms. The point is this: those things carry forward, and so when there's a void, it's still there. The thing still comes to fill it. We just call it something else.
Right. And I think one of the things we're missing at the current moment, I don't think it's a permanent situation, but the ancient cultures not only had insights about what this all is or may be, but they also had insights about how to manage it, because there are risks. There are potential health risks, physical health, and for some people, mental health risks with having a UFO experience. And the ancient cultures built little hedges around what we would call the numinous, like something that inspires awe in you, like seeing a UFO or interacting with entities. The traditional cultures build a little hedge around that to prevent you from getting too close to it, because there's danger there. It's like, building a strong rail guard at the edge of a cliff. Don't drive over here, it gets pretty deep. And we don't have.
Once you open the veil, and you let everything through,
exactly.
we have our human existence, our current capacity to fathom, to deal with, to comprehend of the 100% reality that we only see 5% of.
Yep.
For us to do that, if you open the veil, you need protection.
Yeah.
Because it will just pour through.
And you need to know how to do that. But if you don't know what kind of entity you're dealing with, what kind of experience you're dealing with, then it can be hard to know how to protect, and in a way that will protect you from the things that you don't want, but allow the benefits of the good things that you do want to come through.
And that's quite a conundrum. So when I often say I've got more people on the other side than I do here. Most of my friends are on the other side. And when I talk, and I do a lot, talk to my mother, my father, my husband, I'll say, I really miss you and I wish you were here, but I don't wish you to come and visit me in that form because you'll scare the pants off of me and I don't need that right now. So please don't do that. Little mystery things, don't, drop them every once in a while, maybe a synchronicity or always never. My husband used to say that those types of things, drop them.
Right.
No, don't come knocking at my door because I cannot deal with that. Because once that veil is open, I cannot fathom. I can only accept the questions. I don't want the answers. And if you're going to tell me anything's possible, that's frightening to me because it's true.
Yeah.
Anything is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we have a grip on, I don't think that Western science has as firm a grip on the totality of reality, if there is such a thing as total reality, but that I don't think we're very close. I think we're pretty good at this one small chunk of reality, the material reality that we've kept everything focused on for a few hundred years. We're fairly good at that. But there's other pieces of it that we need different approaches, different tools, but we still need to keep that critical thinking, that critical, what we think of as science done at its best, the critical ability to think, to share results with other people, compare results, compare experiences, compare thoughts, to come up with what seems to be, in general, the case, subject to some other, understanding further down the road. But for now, this seems to be the case. And here's what we know about it, and here's what we can do, and here's what we don't know, and what we think the next research steps would be. But we need that to be attached to UFOs, cryptids like Bigfoot, ghosts, poltergeists, all these different things. We need them to be, we need the scope of our research and understanding in a critical vein to be expanded.
Which, for me, and I don't know, for me, I encapsulate the whole thing into a very popular television show called Skinwalker Ranch.
Yes.
Where they give you information that I say to myself, really? It's 6 years? And this is where you're at? Come on, really? And, I read between the lines. I'm like, okay, so, and I've done this before. I go way down into the rabbit hole. And I think, if this is like the typical, I don't want to necessarily say that they're in the business for disinformation.
Right.
If this is the typical thing that they're going to put on television, and it's going to be so popular, I want to read between the lines. So I look at it and I say, So we've got Jay Stratton, who comes around every once in a while and pops out of nowhere, and you're like, where'd he come from? And then he disappears again. I'm like, okay, that was interesting. We've got Jay Stratton, who I know has a long-term relationship with Travis Taylor.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so why are those two people there? And then you've got Bigelow way in the background, and every once in a while, like I'm listening to Dylan Borland talk, and he's talking about this, that, and then BA. I'm like, BA? BA? Did he just say BA? So I'm like, okay, so Skinwalker Ranch is not just bizarro. There's a there, and I'm wondering what they're putting it on TV so they can actually show it to us and say, here it is. And
Yeah.
there's really something there. But
Yeah.
they're not telling us what it is.
I don't know if they know, or if they know, they're not willing to say. I have a friend who is basically, her day job is just a day job like we all have or have had, but her other job is she's a shaman. And she's commented about the entity or entities at Skinwalker Ranch and said that they're absolutely paying no attention to the native tradition about what is at work in that land, how to deal with it. No, we come in with our science trucks filled with instruments and stuff, and we take rockets, lovely phallic symbols, and we shoot them up into the air. And it's, if
Yeah. And
it's not polite. If you think that there's an entity there, some kind of intelligence, doesn't it pay to approach it with a bit more circumspection and respect? Of course, that's not going to make for good television.
they did that the first or second season when they had the rabbi and then they
Uh-huh.
had the shamans there. And, and they did their little thing. And I thought, okay, so they've covered it all. And they're still on now. Is it that popular? Or are they ever going to really tell us what's going on? Because I think, in my opinion, I mean, at first I thought that there was just a natural deposit of minerals that they're investigating. Because naturally, they're there naturally, but they're creating phenomena
Right.
that study we might be able to determine perhaps better understand how to make plasma, how to get
Right.
what plasma they can do, all these things. Because it's pretty clear that there's a bubble.
Yeah.
A bubble.
Yeah.
Now, what's creating that bubble is, I'm like, that's reading between the lines. It's like, what is creating that bubble? What is communicating with them? And then, obviously, that's why I say this show sort of encapsulates what's going on now, because are we getting communications from
Right.
many? One? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Are they flying around? Do they get here in a classic manner, which, 500,000 years later, they're here?
Right.
Or are they traveling here beyond?
Yeah.
And all of these things, I'm like, here are all the questions, and the answers to all of them is possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of these things, it's possible. And that means they've been here. They've always been here. That's the answer to the question. And then I'm like, oh no, here we go. So now we go all the way back again, and now it all comes forward. It's like, this has been happening forever.
Yeah.
Forever. They've always been here. And I don't know who they are.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that I proposed in the talk that I gave to the Society for UAP Studies, and then I gave it again this last spring to the Archives of the Impossible workshop, symposium conference at Rice University. And
I saw that.
yeah, one of the things that I proposed was that we look at our religious traditions to see what they have to tell us about non-human intelligences. And I just pulled out of the air, call it the muse or whatever you will, the jinn, the Islamic concept of the jinn. But the more I have read up since then, more on the jinn, and the more I read up, the more I think, they've always been here. They were here. If the tradition is right, they have been here before human beings were here. Uh, they they click on so many of the features of alien encounters or NHI encounters, so many features of seeing UFOs, whether at a distance or up close. They're just, the interbreeding issue with humans. They are reported in the Islamic literature to, at times, interbreed with humans. I mean, it's just
The
like,
same story over and over again.
yeah. And when I started looking into fairies, everything that's been said about fairies, there's a pattern match with jinn that is very, very close. It's not identical, but it is very close. So maybe it's like Eastern Asian humans and African humans and Northern European humans and indigenous humans. We all look a little different, but we're all humans. And, we eat, we breathe, we do a lot of things the same way regardless. And perhaps it's that way with whatever it is that has been here for a very long time already and has been interacting with us for a very long time. Maybe these are just different types of what the Islamic faith calls jinn. In the Northern European setting, we call them elves or dwarves or fairies. Uh, it's it's just slightly different, but they're the same essential kind of being.
It's not so much a figment of our imagination,
I don't think
but
so.
it is our imagination attempting to make sense out of something that we can't explain. We might just say, "Oh, no, no."
Right.
But in the meantime, if we're all trying to explain the same thing, and then we all have to explain it away by saying it's our imagination, then it begs the question, why are we doing this? Oh, because humans are like this.
Right.
So basically tell me, what are humans?
Yeah.
Why are we like this?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's all in our imaginations. There is obviously a generous overlay of psychological factors, sociological factors that we see what we think we see, we interpret it the way we interpret it. All of those, can be very personally unique or interpersonally, culturally shaped, but that there is something there that we've been experiencing. I find it hard to deny that. And I wish that we would bring more of the scientific critical framework to understanding that. But that doesn't mean pulling up with your truckloads of scientific instruments and shooting rockets into the air. That's not what I'm thinking of when I talk about exploring it critically. I'm thinking along different terms I don't have those terms fully outlined in my head, but I know it needs to be different, in my opinion.
I don't know what they could do. Well, first of all, I'm sure they're doing other things at Skywalker,
Probably.
Skinwalker, that we're not seeing because they're not, they're probably, the grass is growing and
Right.
we don't need to watch it.
Right.
However, I'm sure there have been some results for that grass growing that have made, well, it could just be a TV show at this point. I don't know. I can't imagine though. I don't know. I could be wrong. Perhaps I'm naive. Maybe I'm gullible. Maybe they overestimated how popular it could be, and now it keeps going by itself. But I just know for myself, I'm quite sure
Right.
that there is something, that consciousness is the culprit, and that we don't know what consciousness is.
Yeah.
And that once we understand consciousness, I think we'll understand the non-human more than we do now. Because
Yeah.
our consciousness is what's filtering out the non-human.
Yeah.
Because if we cannot create a pattern and a memory, our brains will filter it out because it will just be static.
Right.
It's like, that's noise. I can't remember what that was. That's just noise. Oh, that's a bee. I understand what that sound is. That's a bee.
Right.
I know what that is.
Right.
So once we get all this information where there's nothing in memory, we can't categorize it. It literally changes every time. I mean, it's smarter than we are, whatever it is. That's that's the level that if we aspire to, we'll be able to slowly understand what's happening. But otherwise, it sort of happens around us and we don't know what it is. And perhaps it's a ghost, perhaps it's a poltergeist, perhaps it's a fairy, perhaps it's all these things. They're happening. We don't know what it is. Now, it ends up it ends up swallowing up UFO or extraterrestrial.
Right.
But there's somewhat of a difference there because not only can the extraterrestrial be part of the phenomena, but
Right.
they can also be corporeal. I can feel it, touch it, smell it.
Right.
It just landed on my front lawn.
Yep.
And they're knocking at my door, type of an experience.
Right.
So it's the NHI is also going to be part of the experience. They're going to be able to say, the NHI is going to be able to say, well, it's a ghost, it's a poltergeist. They're also experiencing it.
Yeah. Yep.
They're part of it. We don't know what it is. If they're smarter than us, they know a little bit more about it than we do. Obviously, if they're here, they're a little smarter than we are. Little. So there's a few different levels to UFO.
Right.
That I like to think about. It's not just they've been here all along,
mm-hmm.
because they may just be echoes of energy.
Could be. Yeah.
They could just be, because where does the soul come from? And where does it go?
Well, if you're going to speak in strictly scientific terms, the question is, what do you even think a soul is?
Right.
And where do you, how do you find it in the human body? But I don't think in strictly scientific terms, and I'm not sure what the difference would be between soul and consciousness, but whatever it might be, Western science has yet to pinpoint it.
Mhm. And the miracle is the human body was able to capture it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got this amoeba that kept growing until this level of consciousness was able to keep moving it forward.
Yep.
Now, are we just evolution, or is it,
I don't know.
I mean, if we blame it on, if we say, oh no, it's Giorgio Tsoukalakis, whatever. Oh, it's ancient aliens. The aliens came. We did nothing. They made everything that we have on Earth. It's
Right.
aliens. Well, where did they come from? For goodness sake.
Right.
So
Yep.
if there is no evolution anywhere, what? Just
Yeah.
something sparks into being.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't really necessarily explain away anything. It provides you with an interesting thought that, we as in Earthlings
Right.
are older than we think we are,
Right.
and that we're maybe missing a few, civilizations
Yeah. Yeah.
that knew more than we knew,
Yep.
that are not here for whatever reason because, comets and war happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, I will go very deep and say it's possible that we have been prodded forward by an extraterrestrial, that we have been protected by an extraterrestrial all along. They've been looking down going, those humans, those people on Earth, those earthlings, they're
Bless
so
their hearts. Their hearts are cute.
Exactly. Bless their heart. And people, we'll visit you, and then we'll give you another 100,000 years. We'll let you know. No, not right yet. We'll just keep floating around. And so there's corporeal beings. There are ephemeral. There's a lot going on that we just don't get.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think there is a lot going on. I've wondered sometimes, what if, a race like the jinn or the fairies do exist. They've been here as long as we have, longer. But what if there is a corporeal, physical entity that does know how to travel between the stars or between the galaxies? What if they decided to visit planet Earth? But what if the inhabitants that they came to see were not humans, but they were these other entities?
That's what I'm saying. They come and they
Yeah.
meet the jinn and the humans. So
Yeah.
they meet the earthlings and the jinn.
Right.
And they're thinking, oh, what the heck is going on this planet? This is a
Yeah.
weird place.
This is weird.
But I would say that we have to stop thinking about the Earth as some sort of proprietary melting pot, and
Yeah.
that they're all over the place.
It's very.
You open that veil and everything comes through, and there's a lot on the other side.
That's right. There's a lot of stuff out there that we don't have the faintest idea how to deal with it, what it is, or how to deal with it. Yep.
I remember reading, and I don't know if this is what the author was writing about, but I remember reading Raymond Feist, and he wrote a number of epic fantasy books, but there were a lot of demons types. And he would go off, and I would often think, is this man smoking pot, or what is he doing? Because I don't know what he's talking about anymore. But I would keep reading, because every once in a while it was an actual character development and not just a scene with lots of odd things going on. But I think to myself, if there's so many dimensions, then there's unlimited things that are possible here.
Yep. Yep.
And that's so difficult for, us to fathom, that it's easier to say, oh, that's the most absurd thing I've...
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. As much sense as I came into this body and am living this life and
Right.
have met people and done things, and it makes as much sense as that there are many more varieties thereof in existence. That there are
Yeah.
so many things I cannot even fathom.
Yeah.
That amoebas are thinking, what am I going to have for lunch?
Right. Right. Right.
And that, just because, there's only a few things for them to have for lunch, big enough, or I should say small enough.
Uh-huh.
It's a small world, but they're having an existence.
Yep.
And so the dust mites in the air, I don't know, there's just so much going on that it needs to blow your mind. And
Yep.
then I think it's a good thing to say, my mind's blown. I don't know. I just don't know. It's better
Yep.
to say that than say, I know, and you're wrong.
Oh,
And you're an heathen for saying that.
right.
And they'll
I
put you in jail because
right.
you told people that.
Exactly.
I think a healthy questioning is better than an inquisition.
Right. I tend to form ideas that I favor. Personally, my personal theories. This is what I think is the case. But I try, I spent some time being a fundamentalist, and I like to think that I've gotten over the worst of that. I like to try to leave open this a fairly good sized crack in the door that says, this is what I think. I may think something different tomorrow. Uh, I I might be absolutely spot on correct, but I might not be. I might be a little correct, but not much. I might be way off the mark. And I have to try to leave room for those things to be true and try to remain flexible enough to be able to see that and admit it and own that.
We're talking a little bit about protecting ourselves, and I would think that you have a method of protecting yourself. I know I do. And it's not a big deal. It's the word I believe.
Ah, yes, that makes sense.
And
Yeah.
that which I believe in is that it's not good and evil. It's chaos. It's chaos and order. So evil can be on either side.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, Mother Nature is not good by nature,
No, no, she's not.
right?
That's
She's not.
right. That's correct.
So there are many. I understand order and chaos. I accept the fact that death comes in many shapes and forms.
Yes.
That pain exists in many shapes and forms. And that pain is not only part of death, not only part of physical death, but it is part of spiritual death. It's
Yeah.
how to explain a number of different things.
Yeah.
So that it ends up evil because, we needed a word to explain it.
Yeah.
And a culture will reshape what we believe in as good and evil.
Yeah. Well, how humans have conceptualized evil down through the thousands of years has really shifted. It for one thing, in the earliest days, it appears that it was not conceptualized as an entity, as a personified thing. It was just bad things happen. Evil happens. And the why of it, well, talk to your gods, talk to your deities. But even the deities themselves were not always absolutely surefire, gonna do you only good.
Because they
Sometimes,
weren't good themselves.
not at all. They were a mixture just as humans. They're just, uh, they're viewed as more powerful than humans. But over the years, over the thousands of years, evil became personified and gradually split off from deity. So that we began to think about deity as being all the good stuff and this other personification as being all the bad stuff. But that is a process that took thousands of years of human history to happen. And so when people today want to personify evil and attach it to particular things or groups, I wince a little bit because a lot of bad acts have happened because of attaching the label evil to other things, other groups.
Well, it makes it's an easy platform to expunge
Right,
what you want,
right,
like what the culture wants
right.
to, disinformation
Yeah,
and
yeah,
disclosure.
yeah,
It's nothing new.
yeah,
It's called propaganda, and it's
yeah,
what power can attempt to use to control the masses,
yeah,
their power base.
yeah. What do you think about disclosure? Do you think that we've had UFO disclosure, or do you think that it's partial, or we've got all we're ever going to get?
I, you know, I'm looking for the day that they just like knock on everybody's door and go, this is disclosure. Because I don't think we've had disclosure. I think people personally may have had disclosure. Personally, may
Right,
have had disclosure,
right,
and they tell us their story, and we either believe or don't believe them, or we
right.
lock them up, put them
That
in
time.
insane asylums,
Yes,
give them pills, and tell them calm down.
that's right.
We're having a psychiatric
Yeah,
break with.
yeah,
Um, so I don't think I understand what the word disclosure means. I don't think that we've had a global disclosure.
right,
I think people have had personal disclosures.
right.
Um, and I don't know if it's the Fermi paradox
Yeah,
or if it's the fact that, they're not coming out because it's scary. We're scary. They know that. So I don't know. I don't know. So I look at the whole effort and I think when we're culturally ready, it will be disclosed. And everybody will go, oh, yeah, you're right. They're here. And if they're really here, then, really, how can you discount the fact that they just landed on, you know, the front lawn of the White
right,
House
right, right.
and
Exactly.
they're talking to Orange Man? I mean, could you get any more disclosed than that? We've got lots of people saying, I've touched ships, I've talked to aliens, I was abducted. And I think there's got to be something going on with all the things that they're saying. Got to be. I don't know what it is. It's either literal or it's not. And once you go from literal, there's a spectrum there that, just takes off. I don't know what it means. So I want to believe.
Right.
I really want to believe because I can't think. I can't. It just seems so. I don't know. What's the term? I had it and then it was gone. But we would be so foolish to think we're it's just us.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Oh, it's just us. No one else out there. Really?
That would be pretty sad when you come to think about it. That'd be really sad. That
Great,
means,
most incredible miracle you've ever fathomed in your entire life happened here. One or the other.
yeah, it's to think that we would be the only intelligent life that has ever happened in the entire universe, all the many, many, many galaxies that we're in. We're the only ones, because if and when we blow
Hubris.
ourselves up,
Hubris, that's the word. That was
yeah,
what I was talking
hubris, yeah, if and when we blow ourselves up, there goes intelligent life. How sad is that? We
about.
can't be the only ones. We can't be the only ones. No, I tend to believe because it seems the most logical thing to me to believe rather than to deny. But I don't believe because of experience. There are people who say, I don't believe. I know because I've experienced this.
Yeah.
And I would really like to have an experience of that nature with a UFO, something that I could say, no, I don't believe in them. I know they exist because I've, had an experience and
That's the disclosure that I'm saying.
right, right.
You know,
But on the
that's
other hand,
universal
yeah,
disclosure.
yeah. But on the other hand, I I don't mind being surprised, but I don't want to be shocked and scared.
Well,
You know, yeah,
and I mean, when I think about it, I think, how in the world would they travel gabillion light years, come here, and all they want is the gold on the planet, and they destroy us? And
yeah.
then the other part of the question is, well, how many times have you stepped on an ant?
There you go. Well, yeah,
Okay, I just answered the question.
right, right. How many fire ant hills have you tried to extinguish on your property? An entire
Exactly.
world. It's an entire world for them. It's their
Sorry.
whole existence.
Maybe because I don't understand how they think, feel,
Yep.
whatever. I just assume they're not. They're not
Right.
worth the. They're not worth.
Right. They're a
And
problem for me, so we get rid of them.
get rid of them.
Right.
And so, I think both ways. I think, oh, they're going to be so excited to see us, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, they don't care about us. They're going to come. They're going to, they want the golden on whatever it is that we have. And then
Right.
I think, for goodness sake, if they can travel all over the world, there's got to be a billion other places that they can get the gold or whatever. So why would they
One
come
would
here
think.
and bug the heck out of us? So I go all over the place, and I end up in Star Trek thinking of every single episode that I've ever seen, saying, okay, well, they did it. They did it all different ways. They
Uh-huh.
showed how each and every. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. So it
Yeah.
could go any way.
It could.
It could
It
go
could.
anywhere.
It does seem a little bit difficult to think that of all the places in the galaxy, we won't even talk about the whole universe, just our galaxy, that you could find gold. Earth is really one of the best places. That's a little, I mean, maybe so. I don't know what the galaxies are like, but I do find it a little odd to think that that would be the case.
I would think so too. I would think so. What I mean, we're at the point where we think we would mine planets
Right.
for resources that we need.
Right.
But once we're off the planet
Right.
and we're able to travel, and we're able to travel distances and not just, we get to the moon and then we're out of gas.
Right. Yes.
So we're able to travel. I would think, it's endless.
Yep.
It's endless. Now it's just a matter of curiosity. Oh, we'll just get what we need, and we'll jump to the next place.
Right.
Why do we have to take everything? Why do we have to empty the planet of its gold? Why do we need to do that?
Yeah.
So I would think that how we think of our world as a limited resource, but the galaxy and then the universe It's not limited. So you'd have unlimited. It's just, it's limited to your ability to travel.
Right.
Now, if you're traveling again through, using energy and physics, and energy is required, or plastic energy, chemical energy is required, and not things that we don't necessarily understand, or I don't necessarily, physics, the laws thereof.
Right.
We're probably going to get to the next phase where it's still, I'm going to end that conversation by saying, what is Elon Musk really trying to do? No, I don't know if chemical rockets even make any amount of sense.
I would think that they wouldn't, because you would have to have a refueling option very carefully placed wherever you went, and that seems like an awfully lot to ask of chemical, where you need certain chemicals but others won't do. It has to be these particular ones.
Right. And they need to be refined.
Right.
Process. It's not just like grab it, put it in the engine, let's go.
That's right.
So you're going to get to Mars, and it's going to take time, and you're going to build. What are you going to do? You're going to build. I just think something. Is he just doing this is this another Skinwalker Ranch? Is he just doing this while something else is going on? Like, I think to myself, we have, let's say Ross Coulthard is speaking the truth.
Right.
And Northrop has a spacecraft.
Right.
And Elon Musk doesn't know about this?
Yeah.
Sorry, that doesn't make sense. So which one is wrong? Is Elon wrong? Or, let's say Northrop doesn't have this spaceship. BA does. I don't know. Whoever has it.
Right.
Why are we playing with chemical rockets? Why?
Well,
why haven't we been to the moon? Again, and again, and again, and again, and again.
That's a very good question. It's been decades, as far as I know, since we've been anywhere near.
Right? Oh, there's a base on the dark side of the moon. I'd be like, yeah, I wouldn't doubt that one. I just don't understand why didn't we go back to the moon? We tried, but the program did. The program, obviously, we had problems with the tiles, and now, okay, that's yet another disinformation program.
Yeah.
I even thought the other day, I'm like, did that whole thing with the Columbia, was that all garbage? So that we would stop asking questions and say, oh, well, that's why we're not doing it, because we don't have space, the tiles on the spacecraft.
Right.
It's just not, and we say that like we know.
Right.
And I think, is that?
Yeah.
We couldn't get those astronauts off the International Space Station without Elon's help.
Yeah.
What's going on? And yet we have this spacecraft that that can go in water and zippity doo dah, zippity a, looks like a tic tac, and all these things. That's our technology. Like, it's all this information. I'm like, what? Somewhere in between the lines, there's truth, and I don't know what it is.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know how much of everything is an improper joining together of bits and pieces of ideas, bits and pieces of facts, until you've come up with this great big conspiracy theory.
Right down the hole.
Right down the rabbit hole. Exactly. And how much of it is the truth? How much of it is accurate info? And I find myself putting a lot of stuff that I hear or read into the it might be true. If it's true, so what then? If it's not true, then, it just fails to address the current situation, which is why it was proposed in the first place to be an answer. I don't know. I really don't know.
And that's the answer to disclosure. I don't know. I really don't. I cannot, I can't, I can't ignore someone's experience that
Right.
says I know.
Right.
I can't believe it because I can't believe that could possibly happen because it hasn't happened to me. So how could that happen? Why doesn't it happen to everyone? Why did it happen to you?
Right.
What's so special about you?
Right.
I look up every night going, okay, all right, I'm going to bed now. I do it every single night.
I don't. I probably should. I have done certain things like that in the past every single night, and it had the effect that I had hoped for. I probably should do something like that. I once was visiting a retreat center in the Colorado Rockies, and I had been sending out a mental message for months ahead of time to the aliens, said I want to meet you. I'm going to be in this location at this time frame. It's going to be really isolated. You should be able to appear there without a lot of trouble, and I want to meet you. But I want to meet you awake. I don't want to be paralyzed. I don't want to forget. I want to be in control of myself. And the first night that I was at the retreat center, indeed, that's it. An abduction experience appeared to be starting to happen. And every time it began, I would break myself out of it and say, no, 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 I am not going to be paralyzed. You have to let me be in full control. And finally, about the third time it happened, I thought, oh, I've talked myself into having a hypnagogic hallucination. That's what this is. And I laid down and went to sleep without any problem. That's the result of me. That's one time when holding an idea in my head, it resulted in something. I don't think it probably resulted in what I had been hoping for, but I certainly got a taste of what it must feel like to have the initial pieces of an abduction start to happen.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, you read about the abductions, and from the reading that I've done, John Mack, I mean, these people don't want these. We're saying, please, come on, let's have tea. These people did it.
Right.
And it wasn't even in the radar. It wasn't like, oh, you know what, I wonder.
Uh-huh.
It happened.
Exactly. It happens, and in a culture that does not give you the intellectual, emotional vocabulary tools to be able to understand it or talk about it.
And in many cases, these people don't want to talk about it.
Right.
So, they're afraid that their relatives will not talk to them.
Right.
They can't talk about it because something will happen to them at work.
Right.
I mean, and there's numerous reasons why they just don't want to talk about it. So, it hasn't happened to me. When I look up in the sky, I don't invite them.
Right.
I'm not saying come on down, let's have tea. I'm saying I believe. That's what I'm
Right.
saying.
Yeah.
I believe. And what the answer is, your skies are so polluted, you wouldn't be able to see us if if we
Right.
tried. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah. It
I'm
could
lucky I
be.
get 5 stars.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely could
And
be.
it's occurred to me, isn't there some place that I could go on Long Island and I could see the stars? And I think I, I'm thinking when I remember it was a while ago when my husband and I used to take the boat. We'd go to Fire Island and we'd stay there overnight.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, didn't we see stars on Fire Island? It was almost like, holy moly, there are still stars out here. Because suddenly it just opens up. When
Yeah.
there's no light,
Yeah.
you see the stars.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm thinking of, maybe going to the beach. There's also, I don't know if you've heard of the Tedesco brothers.
The name is familiar, but I don't know why.
They apparently technically assisted, not specifically Ovilo, but within the Galileo project.
Right.
And they hooked up a number of sensors and went to the beach and sat out there and gathered data for the Galileo project. And they had a lot of data.
Yeah.
They had a lot of data. And I've thought about connecting with them because they're here on Long Island and they're at
Right.
Stony Brook. I believe they're both at Stony Brook. And one's an engineer. I mean, they're both
Right.
still in the field. I don't know what they're specifically doing. From what I gather, they're on other projects. They're still affiliated. So if Galileo needs to outsource, they're still available to do research for them. But I've thought about connecting with them and asking them if they ever do any sky watching projects, because
Right.
I love the sky.
Yeah.
I love the sky.
That would be interesting. It would be fun.
When I look to the stars, the answers just come. They're just not in English.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if that's a download, I don't know. I just go like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's good, it's evil, whatever's going to happen. I've often said, I used to argue with my husband all the time. I used to say, you know what? If we don't deserve the planet, so be it.
Yeah.
And he's like, how could you just say it that way? I'm like, because if we don't deserve the planet, if we're going to do stupid things and blow ourselves up and take the planet with us, then we don't deserve the planet.
True.
And I hate to say it in that way to make it sound so logical.
Right.
Because you would want to say, well, don't say it like that. But I would hope that we realize at some point in time a little restraint would be a good thing.
I have a feeling we don't have it in us to exercise a little restraint.
That we don't just the planet. And it would be very sad if we take it with us. But I would think that Mother Earth would protect and say, no, you want to fry yourselves? Be my guest. You're not taking me with you. I've got a few thousand million years to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would hope. But
I would hope so. But I mean, I've got grandchildren, so I think so. On which generation or generations is the axe going to fall, and how bad is it going to be?
Yeah. And again, it's not the human body that does it.
Right.
Obviously, it's this consciousness that is doing it.
Yep.
And which is why we really need to learn more about this consciousness. Because once we realize what makes us do things that are not really good,
Right.
evil, I don't know. But
Right.
if we think that the goal, what's the term? The goal, the goal, the means, the goal. Oh, I'm getting old. The goal defines the means. In other words, well, I had to destroy the town because, it was a war, and that's what wars are.
Right. Right.
If that's the way we continue to think and think and think, instead of everybody saying, "Wow, whoa, 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 let's not even do those things. We don't even want to
Right.
go there.
Right.
Let's nip it in the bud before we even get there." Like we're having a philosophical discussion about who's right, who's wrong, whose planet is it anyway, or whose town it is, and
Right.
whose trees it is, and can we come to terms before we even get there?
Yeah.
We're still at the point we'll fight the battle again and again.
Yeah. And we
Over
do. And we do. It's couched in different terms. It's, a pretext for it is found. It's a little different every time, but it comes down to the same thing. We keep fighting the same war over and over and over. Yeah. Yeah.
And if we don't say, "Oh, here," it's like the argument that you have with your husband, where it's like you start having the argument, and one of you says, "Oh, here we go again,"
Yep.
because it's the same argument.
Yep.
It's the same war over and over again, and everybody gets so self-righteous about it, and nobody says, "That sounds pretty dumb." Or if you say that, then you even rile them up even more. And
Yeah.
you say to yourself, we've got these situations going on right now.
Yep.
And there's no way out. Other than everybody looking at each other and going, that was pretty stupid, don't you think?
Yep.
You think
Yep.
Putin would turn around and say, "Yo, Vladimir, what do you think, Vladimir? I don't know, Vladimir. Hey, we got the first fight there. We got the first name. It's the same thing. Are we being dumb? Don't they have the first name? No, it's Vladimir Putin.
Vladimir Putin.
Is
But
it Vladimir? I'm trying to think of his first name. We all call him Zelensky.
Is it Stanislav?
Oh, Stanislav. Maybe, I don't know. It's one of those names. In
Yeah.
any case, you'd think they turn around and say, "Are we being dumb?"
Yeah.
In the middle of Israel. Are we being dumb? Didn't we fight this? Isn't this already, didn't we do this 5,000 times?
Yeah.
What's the conclusion of that? I don't know. That's why we're still fighting. Oh, you mean it doesn't work?
Yeah.
Isn't that the definition of being an idiot?
Right. Yeah.
Why do we know this to be true and we still do it? And honestly, if you were having the conversation, you'd probably back one side or the other.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And say, "No, but they're wrong." So this is the human condition. But I keep saying to myself, what does that mean? If it's consciousness that's doing this, which essentially means that it is some sort of a condition that is rife among the universe, that the universe is attempting to survive, and in order for it to survive, it needs to stomp on something else along the way.
And that's a sad commentary on the universe.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
For one thing to exist, it needs to take something else out of existence.
Right.
But that in a way is how energy works when it converts itself. So, you've got matter, and then you've got water, and then it turns into air, and, and the water doesn't exist anymore. It's now two different molecules. It's hydrogen and oxygen. It just destroyed the water.
Yeah.
Is that evil? No, we don't consider that evil. But when we say, "Oh, you just smacked a baby, and that baby doesn't exist anymore," because that's evil.
Yep.
So, philosophically speaking, if you take the whole thing and you blow, like I said, you open that veil, it gets kind of crazy. You let everything, and it gets very, very crazy, where there is no good and evil. All of these things are happening all the time.
Right.
And the only thing that's identifying what's good and bad is the filter that we call our brain.
Right.
So when the aliens do come, they're going to do all sorts of odd things that we're
No
not going to
doubt.
understand.
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt.
Because their brain works differently. Unless they have the same
Yeah.
hardware that we do.
Yeah. I mean, we can just look at whatever intelligence it is behind the UFOs right now to see that that's the case.
Right.
Whatever kind of intelligence it is, it does think differently than
we
humans. Yeah,
do.
a
We do.
lot.
And we can't necessarily understand their goals or their strategies because they may be so different than ours.
Right.
And then there may be other entities with similar goals. So it gets very, as Terrence, what's
McKenna. Yeah.
McKenna said, it's going to get weirder and weirder, stranger and stranger and stranger and stranger until everybody's talking about how strange it is. And we're basically talking about how ultimately strange it can be. Once you go down the rabbit hole, you'll either go into a conspiracy theory where the government is doing this and then the other thing and they're experimenting on us. And then the other thing is, no, reality is just really weird.
Yeah. Yeah. What did
And
Terrence McKenna say comes? What did Terrence McKenna say comes after everybody's talking about how weird it is? What comes after that?
There's a little bit of, it depends on which trip he was on. He does talk about apocalypse.
Yeah.
He does talk about extreme brutality. It's, and I don't know if he had anything linear.
Yeah.
This is what's specifically going to happen.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty universal that when you wind it up and it gets too tight, it just runs wild.
Yeah.
And are we too tight now? I think our civilization has wound itself up and gotten tight a kabillion times.
Yeah.
And it's only what we have from history that we can rehash, but it's what we don't have because we don't have that history is where the lesson is. It's like that Sodom and Gomorrah story where, everybody just turns to salt and there's nothing but minerals. You got there's no story there. What happened? Don't know. What started it? Don't know. And we've got a number of those things that happen, those times that happen, whether it's, a comet, or if it is a visitation. Was there
or a pandemic, something that is 100 times worse than COVID was, that just takes people out before you can even begin to figure out what to do about it to try to slow it down or stop it?
I think, that's happened to us a number of times.
Yeah.
Right? So we've seen that in history, and the myths talk about, when they talk about flood, they include famine, and they include pestilence, they include starvation, they include, all the stories include all these things. And so it's clear that they've happened to us before.
Right.
And that's when I say, if we don't deserve the planet, it's not that the dinosaurs didn't deserve the planet, because in essence, some of the dinosaurs are still here.
Right. Just in very attenuated form.
Right. Those dinosaurs that made it stayed. So, again, I say to myself, if there is some cataclysm, whether it's natural or unnatural, whether we bring it upon ourselves or if it brings itself upon us, I would hope that there would be those that survive. That's what I hope. That's all I could. That's
Yeah.
where I go, and I say we'll end up starting over again. And if we don't have the conscious level to remember what has happened, then we're going to make the same mistakes, and that's
Yeah.
somewhat of the human condition.
Yeah.
That's what
And
this brain, unfortunately, that is, unfortunately, the boundary limits of the brain.
yeah.
It's built on memory and it's built on patterns. We
Right.
don't have the memory, we don't have the patterns, we have to recreate them. And that takes a while.
Yeah.
Now, are children born in to the world without these patterns, but just this gloop of memory? And we forget, and then we have to reteach ourselves? For this environment, do they know? And then they get retaught in this environment? It's possible.
Yeah. It's hard to know. I marvel that anybody wants to incarnate here. It can be an incredibly beautiful place, but it's also incredibly dangerous.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure that humanity as an entire species is a healthy thing.
I
You
don't
know?
know. I can't. I
Yeah.
can't. I can't confirm nor deny that because I think we're both. I think we're both, and I don't know um, unless it's AI. I don't know. I don't know when our biology, as is, will be
Right.
able to manage the leap. Because, as I said, if we keep forgetting the mistakes we've made, then we're going to make the same mistakes over again.
Yep.
Because it's not just culture. I mean, it is the
Right.
way we learn.
Right. But it may be that we've made mistakes like these 2 or 3 times historically. I mean, before prehistory.
Well,
Uh,
that's the problem. That's the problem. If
yeah.
it's not in history, we can't even rely on our own history.
Yeah.
Did we have that war already? Yeah, we did. So why are we fighting it again? You're right.
Yeah.
Let's have tea. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, we can't even do that. We can't even
Yeah.
do that. So we are we talking about it more so now than ever?
It being what?
Um, the singularity that brings us to the next evolutionary phase. That light bulb that goes off in everybody's head that says, "Oh,
I don't think that we are, but I
I
may
don't
be,
want to depress you, but
yeah, I may be wrong. I think that in certain enclaves, there's a lot of buzz about it. But outside of those enclaves, I think the interest is very, very limited, both in terms of the number of people and how far down deep into the weeds people are willing or able to get.
so culture is the gatekeeper,
One, yes,
right? So um, if we change, well, if we get off the planet, the culture changes.
definitely. It would have to. Yeah,
So I would think that would be part of it, because I would think, I mean, we're going to still tell the same stories and do the same things, but it will change. I would hope to think that we wouldn't just go to Mars and start it all over again.
There are
And then
people. There are
go to
people who think that we came from Mars, and that Earth was seeded with intelligent life via
Mars.
refugees from Mars because Mars was dying. So I don't know how to prove it did happen. I also don't know how to prove it didn't.
No, I don't. As I said, I have to think the best,
Right.
and literally not say what it is, but think the best. Say,
Right.
we're gonna get it together. I don't know how. I don't know when. We're gonna get it together. It may not be all of us. We're gonna get it together. We're going to reach the other side, and it has to be that way. Otherwise, there is no space travel. There is no ET. Because if we can't do it, they can't do it. We're just the embryonic form at where we are now of what they
Right.
are. Somebody's already done this. If they can travel in space, again, it was Stephen Hawking who said, beware, because if they can travel in space, they can do anything. But really, if they can travel in space, as I said before, what they want to come here for? What? Jewelry?
Right. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, you've got pomegranates? We want your pomegranates?
Right. Uh-huh.
They've got to have gone to the other, gotten to the next level. And what that next level is a little less corporeal and a little bit more mental.
Yeah. Yeah.
Intellectual, and a little bit more on that side. Do they read minds? Do they do all these things, levitate, all these different things? Do they even have bodies? I don't know. But I would have to think, and that's why I say I do believe that at some point, if there are ETs, then there is hope.
That makes sense.
It
means that
if there is no ETs,
right.
There's no hope.
Yeah.
Again, we were just some wild miracle that happened on this planet. There's nobody else out there.
Yep. That makes sense.
Or if we're all captured on our planets, all the way across the universes.
Yep.
We're all captured on our own planets because we can't get off, and we can't find that mechanism that allows us to travel in space. Then again, it doesn't matter. We're all captured on our own planets. That would be wild too.
Yeah. It would certainly necessitate that we learn to get along with each other better if we were all captured on our own planet.
Right? Like, we have a choice here.
Yeah. We got to learn how to share. We've got to learn how to take, enough to live decently, but not so much that other people cannot live decently. We all have to contribute. It has to be a group effort. Those are just, it seems to be some of the ground rules.
It just seems to be, it would seem to be that if we could come up with I'll use terms because I don't know what else to do.
Right.
If we could learn to work in a mercantile economy with a communist mentality.
Yeah.
All right. In other words, we all share this planet.
Right.
However,
an altruistic group mentality. We are doing this for the group. I'm doing it for me, but I also want the group to prosper because long after I'm gone, the group will be here.
Right. And I need to continually innovate.
Right.
So I need that mercantile system that rewards me.
Right.
That says, just don't hang out in a sand pile.
Right.
Move.
Right. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So those two things need to work together, and I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Because one does not solve the problem in itself.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
And are these all the things that mentally go on in our minds, and we create this world-saving thing that could be the apocalypse,
Yeah.
or that could be the aliens? In many cases, the apocalypse is an eradication of evil where only the good is left. But in other beliefs,
Right.
it's an eradication of everything. And then yet, in another belief, it's a reset.
Yeah. You reset the game and try to play it again. See if you can have a different outcome the next time around.
Exactly. It's a
Yep.
reset. So, I do see the whole religious UFO paranormal, they're all intertwined with this concept of, oh, we just made a mess of things, we need an apocalypse.
That seems like that's like I haven't dusted in 6 months and I haven't swept the floors in 3 weeks.
So just let it all on fire.
We'll just burn the house down and build a new one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or we could roll up our sleeves and get to work and start cleaning.
Well, that's really the philosophy that people need to get a grip of, because it's really like that. And some people will say, no, let's just burn it down. And you see it in society again when it gets all wound up.
Yeah.
People will just say, we're evil. We don't, as I said, we don't deserve the planet. So sorry.
Yeah.
If it comes down to that, some people will actually say that, and I do say that.
Yeah.
I do say that. So that's that is that kernel of the apocalypse myth coming out of my mouth in a conversation. Right. So why not have people believe in it?
Yep.
Because when I say if we don't deserve the planet, then let somebody else. Let's not take the planet with us. Let's let the Wolverine manage the planet if they can.
Yeah.
And so be it. By the grace of God, go they.
Right.
Who am I to say that we're the apex? Now we pretend we are. The apex has always been the virus, which created us.
Yeah.
That virus that does odd things. That's the apex. That's what ended up driving us along the line. That it's like the bacteria that we try to get rid of, but there's also the bacteria that's in our gut that we can't get rid of. It's the same concept.
If you did get rid of it, you'd be in trouble.
So it's that it's the bacterial, the viral, that scientific mechanism that actually helps us evolve. Whether what's going on right now, we can't stop it.
Right.
So if we are able to unlock our minds just a little bit and do it on a planetary level, then we get to the next step. It's the next, and we all do it at once. I don't know if it's possible. I'm making stuff up.
Yeah. I don't know if it is either. I don't know. I find that when it comes to individual humans, I'm fairly optimistic that they can do the right thing. But when it comes to humanity as a mass, I am more skeptical. Mm-hmm. So I don't know who the humans are who are going to be messing it up, for the mass humanity skepticism to be justified.
It's the crowd mentality, not the hive mind, the crowd mentality. Because you get a crowd together, and first they're dancing and suddenly they're doing
Right.
something.
Right.
Obviously, it depends on the crowd, but I'm merely saying,
Right.
you get people together and some, odd things happen.
Yep.
But, it would be my hope that, how we often have said, oh, there are those that follow and those that lead, and we,
Right.
we go through all these divisions of humanity.
Right.
And to some extent, that's true. If we could lift it just a little, and that would be my hope. And a lot of people say that that's actually happening.
Yeah.
And other people say, well, that will happen with AI. And I have yet another horror story with AI. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a horror, but I don't see the point. I don't see how AI will ever become democratized. We don't have the room or the energy to democratize.
Yeah.
Unless we come up with a new energy source,
Right.
AI is run by energy. We don't have that free-flowing energy.
Right. Yeah.
If we can't get off the damn planet, how are we going? How is a robot going to run forever? What is it going to run on?
Right.
It's going to need to plug itself in.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't get it. I'm not there yet. Everybody seems to just think, oh, AI, yeah. I'm like,
It would be nice if there. It would be nice if there was one single answer, but it's probably not. It's probably a confluence of a number of different answers coming from different directions. And without that confluence, it may compromise the stability and success of the end product, the desired end product.
Right. And that may actually be happening as we speak, because you can weaponize anything.
Right.
Weaponize, dirty underwear if that's all you had.
If that's all you have, that's right. Yep.
Just saying. Yeah, I do have, as I said, I believe that is my protection. And that's what I go to bed with and I wake up every morning.
Yeah.
And if it's a simple survival tactic, so be it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
But I also think there's something there.
Yeah.
And I look forward to disclosure, whether that is global or personal.
Right.
I look forward to it. If you were to call me tomorrow and say, guess what happened? I would believe it.
It would probably be pretty cool and at the same time so scary I could hardly contain my fear. So I don't know whether to say yeah, that'd be great or
I know. Well, that's a good possibility why it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because we could talk about this forever, but in many cases, those that have been abducted, their common denominator is trauma.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In many cases, there's some trauma, whether there's trauma afterwards or there was trauma before.
Right.
There's trauma. Now I will say, and I don't know if people will agree with me, I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV, but I think we have all experienced trauma.
I think in one way or another, it's the human condition. I think that's very, very likely.
Now, I'm not making it simple by saying, oh, poor Joy, she's such a victim, she's had trauma. There's lots of different types of trauma.
Right.
Some is pretty damn serious.
Some is life-threatening. And
some is life-threatening. And some is, boo-boo. Yeah, boo-boo. Like, my doctor would tell me all the time, you have a high threshold to pain.
Yeah.
And I would say, I guess, if you're telling me, why? Do you have a needle in my back or something? Um, so, we have all different abilities to deal with reality. And the point is, the reason why you have all these different abilities is because it's pretty traumatizing.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is.
Traumatizing. As safe and sound as it is, you're going to lose your mommy and your daddy.
Right.
It's traumatizing.
Yep.
You're going to get into a marriage that may or may not work.
Yep.
Or, your soulmate passes on. Your
Right.
children grow up, and God forbid, I'm not even going to say what happens to children because they do.
Right.
So all these things, you lose pets. I mean, you get humiliated at work.
Yep.
You see things that you can't believe, or
Right.
things happen to you that you can't believe. So these things, trauma exists. So the common denominator with the phenomena seems to be trauma. And like I say, it's possible that we've all seen. It's possible. It has been disclosed to all of us, and we have pull down the drapes and close the windows and shut it out and say, not me.
That's
No.
actually, you're the second person this week to make that suggestion. That we're all actually experiencers. We just don't realize it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's possible. It's possible that we're protecting ourselves to the point where it's filtered in our mind. It's in a little compartment or in the back.
Right.
And every once in a while, we have a little dream that you wake up and you go, well, that was discomforting. What was that all about? It's okay. And you just go live your life.
Right.
But in the meantime,
A little earworm is in there gnawing away. Yep.
So,
Yep.
perhaps it has been disclosed. We just don't believe it.
Yeah.
And we're all expecting it to happen to all of us at the same time for us to believe it. And that's the scientific method. We need to be able to repeat it.
Right.
Categorize it.
It needs to be intersubjective too, not just one or two people.
Not just my opinion and your opinion, but it
That's
needs to be
right. We need to have a whole bunch of people saying this happens, this occurred.
Right. So we're trying to scientifically prove it, and in the meantime, it's already happened.
Yeah. Yeah. May well.
And every sunrise and sunset, it proves itself over and over again. And we're like, no, that's not the criteria. Well, maybe we have the wrong criteria.
Right.
Oh. The fact that we're in a galaxy that's in a universe that apparently just came into being is not good enough.
Yeah.
We need proof of that. Prove that. Otherwise, what? We don't exist?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know the answers, but I believe. Is there anything, now that we've confused everybody to death,
Right.
I think these are good conversations. I think everybody should be having them.
Yeah. Yes. It depends on how far into the weeds you want to get. But you can have a good conversation and stay on the outer edge of the weeds and just kind of look over into the deep part and say, I'll save that for another day.
And I find for me, it may discomfort some people. And my husband would say, don't try to psychoanalyze me. But it comforted me. It comforts me.
Right.
And I don't have the answers. Because that means I'm not the smartest one on the block. Because obviously I can't figure shit out.
Right.
So if I'm the smartest one on the block, this is not a good
we're all in trouble.
Yeah.
Same
so
thing
I
here.
have to think,
Same
I
here.
don't know the answers. Therefore, there's hope.
Yep.
And that's a screwy way of saying this is how I, this is how I have faith and how I don't wallow in depression.
Right.
Because the more I don't know, the better it gets.
Yeah.
Isn't that an odd way of looking at things?
The more open-ended, the more possibilities.
Right?
Yep.
That's how I look at it.
Yep.
So you said you wrote a book. How would people find more about you
Well,
if you wanted to?
the book the book is available on Amazon.com. Again, it's called The Lure of the Edge: Scientific Passions, Religious Beliefs, and the Pursuit of UFOs.
I'll put the link in the bottom.
Yeah.
Hello.
And there's a couple of articles that I've written, but I actually can't give you the citation to those right now. There's the one that I shared with you before this podcast started. It is going to be published in a month, 2, 3. I'm not sure how soon, but it will be published. And, other than that, I sit here and I read and I write, and, something else may come out later down the line.
I wish you health
Thank you.
to you and yours.
Thank you.
And may you see a glimpse of what potential is out there. Just a glimpse.
Yeah.
And then be able to decide the rest.
That's good. That would be good.
It's all about potential.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call it. I'll call it potential.
Yeah. Call it potential. Well, it's good. Thank you. I will.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming on and
It's been my pleasure.
letting me talk my head off. I could talk forever.
It's been my pleasure. It's been a great conversation. Thank you.
Very good. And that's, as they say, a wrap.
That's a wrap. That's right. That's it.
Or the beginning. I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's always hard to say for sure, Sometimes the end is the beginning. Well, it's been good to talk